Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor a remarkable Western New Yorker and my good friend, Edward Herndon, Sr., who passed away on April 19, 2026, at the age of 95. Ed's life was defined by service to our country, our community, and his family. Born in Kings Mountain, North Carolina on November 10, 1930, to Hubert and Anna B. Herndon, Ed's journey led him to Washington, D.C., and then to Western New York, where he would leave an indelible mark on our community and everyone he met. From an early age, Ed embodied the values of hard work, integrity, and faith in action. After graduating from Lackawanna High School, he answered the call to serve and enlisted in the United States Air Force. Ed served with distinction during 2 tours in Korea and Japan between 1946 and 1950 and continued his service as an Air Force reservist until 1956. His devotion to our country did not end when he hung up his uniform. At home, he found new ways to serve. He worked with the United States Postal Service, Western Electric, and the city of Buffalo, where his skills and leadership earned him appointment as Director of Real Estate in 1957, a position he held for 16 years. He later served on the City Board of Assessment Review, where his approach said everything about him. He was knowledgeable, committed, and above all, fair. He understood that property assessment is not just a number, it's a real consequence for a family or a senior on a fixed income, and he never forgot that. That sense of humanity was rooted in his faith. For decades, Ed was an active and devoted member of his congregation at St. Philip's Episcopal Church. Faith wasn't just something he professed, it was the life he lived. And it showed in his integrity, his honesty, and his extraordinary ability to connect with people. Which brings me to what those who knew Ed will remember most. He had a rare gift for making friends, and he used it generously. Everywhere he went, friendships followed. Whether it was a next-door neighbor, a mail carrier, a police officer, or a member of Congress, Ed greeted everyone with the same sincerity and respect. A big, friendly hello, a genuine smile, often a welcoming hug. My own family knew this firsthand. My parents first met Ed at a St. Patrick's Day party, and a friendship was born that lasted decades. When my father served as City of Buffalo Commissioner of Assessment and Taxation, he worked alongside Ed on the Board of Assessment Review. He told me Ed was one of the finest examples of a public servant he had ever witnessed, a man who brought his full character to the job and was beyond reproach. Ed never missed a chance to celebrate life either. Whether it was the Juneteenth festival, Dingus Day, or St. Patrick's Day, Ed was there to celebrate with his fellow Buffalonians. And perhaps nothing captured that spirit better than his 90th birthday, which was right in the middle of the COVID shutdown. What unfolded was a drive-up celebration unlike any other. Friends, colleagues, and loved ones from every corner of his life lined up to pass by, wave, and wish him well. And there was Ed, sitting at the curb, greeting every single car with that same infectious smile, that same wave, celebrating right back. It wasn't a birthday party as much as a testament to a life well lived. As an extraordinary as a servant he was to the public, Ed's proudest legacy was his family. In 1956, he married the love of his life, Jean Ruth Watts, and together for 58 years, they built a beautiful family. He was father to 7 children, Gladys, Brian, Eric, Joan, Edward Jr., Michael and Gina, grandfather to 9 and great-grandfather to 18. Edward Herndon was the very definition of a public servant, a patriot, a husband, a father, grandfather, great-grandfather, and a leader who gave back more than he ever asked for in return. His story is one of deep devotion and quiet strength, and it serves as a reminder, a challenge of what looks like to live fully and give generously. Through his service to our country, his dedication to Western New York, and the boundless love he poured into his family and community, Edward Herndon's legacy will live on in our hearts as a shining example of our nation's highest ideals. On behalf of a grateful community and a grateful nation, may Edward Herndon Sr. rest in peace. We love you, my friend.